you need a bit better control over your employer branding actions, but you're not quite sure how? Were you asked or suggested to come up with an employer branding strategy, but you have absolutely no idea how to do one? In this week's episode of the Building a Modern Employer Brand podcast, we'll talk about employer branding from this strategic point of view, and we'll talk about when do you actually need an employer branding strategy. So welcome back with me, Susanna Rantanen. And this episode is sponsored by Talent Marketing School, where you can learn on demand about talent marketing strategies and how to choose the most fitting strategy for your talent marketing needs. What is an employer branding strategy? First of all, employer branding strategy is one of the primary talent marketing strategies. So it's not the only talent marketing strategy. And talent marketing means marketing and communication targeted specifically to an organization's talent audiences. Now, most often the external audiences, but more and more also for the internal audiences. And I want to emphasize the importance of not forgetting your internal audiences. And of course, the word talent refers to your current, former, and your future employees in the organization. Now, employer branding strategy is really a long-term plan to achieve specific and, really importantly, preset goals and objectives that you guys in your organization have set for employer branding. Goals and objectives are really, really key in when we work strategically, because if you don't know what you aim to achieve, it's really hard to figure out what you should do. I always find that when clients tell me what are their goals and objectives, or even if they have some kind of a direction, or even if they can address a problem that they need to get rid of, or even if they can address sort of like a fantasy world, if they had absolutely no problems in the talent related landscape, how would the world look like? Because this kind of a goal setting and, clarity over what needs to be changing, it gives us obviously the framework for reverse engineering how to get there. And we do strategies because we want to make a change. So it's very important that you understand the key purpose of a strategy. It's always a change strategy. Even if it's just to grow, even if it's just to increase, even if it's just to get rid of, even if it's just to start over, these are all changes to what is now. Why you do a strategy is because you want to do something different, something better, you want to change something, and your goal and your objectives come from that. And the benefits of strategic employer branding are clear. Obviously, to save time and money and use the available time and money wisely on efforts that are actually creating competitive advantage on the talent marketplace for your organization. Now, that's like a minimum standard. So it's not just about, helping hiring. It's to actually improve your organization or your business's competitive status on the marketplace. If you have a strong employer brand, it does not influence only your hiring. It influences your sales and customer success as well. And as we know, there is a very heavy war for talent on several labor markets, and some employers seem to always win the so-called best talents. And the question that I address when clients tell me how do we get the best talents, or that there is no talents available, or that there's just like struggling in the war for talent. Now, there are some talents, even if there was just 5 on your market, they are working somewhere. So why are they not working for your business? Why some organizations seem to hire so effortlessly when others struggle and even lose business because of this lack of labor or shortage of labor? And of course, employer brand is not the only solution, but it surely is one of the most significant reasons why some employers win the best talents and others won't. And more so, why some employers get the best talents for less money than others. Now, most employer branding is actually marketing and communications used strategically to achieve an attractive position as an employer on the market. And it's therefore quite vital to know that the employer brand strategy is not a recruitment strategy, it's not a recruitment marketing strategy, and it's not an HR strategy. Also, the goals and objectives that are intended to achieve with the choice of, going for strategic employer branding, those need to be 100% achievable through planned and resourced marketing and communication activities. 100% achievable. Many people ask, is there a difference between a strategy and a plan? And yes, in fact, there is. Now, I'd like you to think about building a house. When you build a house, you of course have those architectural drawings for what the house should look like. And then you have technical drawings, how to make the house safe and solid. Then you have various plans for how to make it happen. Now, strategy is more like the architectural plan that includes how to make it technically safe and solid. So it's like the vision of how the house will look like when it's ready. It maps out for you what the outcome should look like and what are the key elements that are making the outcome. And then your plan, your building plan, is a more detailed plan for achieving those key elements to build up that house. So a strategy is something that you create for a long-term perspective. And your plan can be what happens first, then what happens after that, and then what happens after that. And each of your plan can be separated into, so this is the plan for digging the hole on the ground. This is the plan for actually putting up the structures. And then this is the plan for the exterior. And this is the interior plan and so on. And obviously, once you have your house ready, then you might have a plan for the yard and the garden or things like that. So when your strategy tells you what you should achieve and get done with the budget that you have, what is the vision of success, your plan tells you in detail what exactly you will do during each phase to make progress as intended up until you have what you plan to have. And even though your strategy, it could be that while you work with your plan, you realize that your resources are not going to last. Something happens on the market, the prices go up. You still, you need to then iterate your plan, maybe choose different kinds of materials. Your vision might change a little bit, but not that much. You still want to, achieve pretty much what your vision was, but you just need to plan it differently so that you can get your resources to last. Sometimes, business people like to mix the strategy and the plan together. I don't recommend that, not in employer branding or not in business strategies, because it's going to be a very heavy document. And we all know what happens when we have very heavy documents of like hundreds of pages, which I've seen business strategies for big corporations that are like hundreds of pages. Nobody, it takes 2 years to draft it. And when you finally have it done and finished, you're never going to look at it. It's much easier to work when you have your strategy as a separate document, and then you iterate your plans as separate documents, and it's easier to sort of update the plans if you find out during the journey that there are changes that are not letting you to fulfill the original plan. The world changes around us so much and so rapidly that it's very difficult these days to make very solid plans anymore. So your strategy needs to be more solid. And then you iterate the plan often as you go. And these days, especially with employer branding, You use data to iterate it. I also get asked, can you have a plan without a strategy? Of course you can, but have you ever tried making a plan without a strategy? Because it's actually pretty difficult to create a plan without understanding what the outcome needs to be. And your strategy has that vision of the outcome. Think about baking, for example. Someone asks you to write them a recipe. You ask, for what? They say, something good. You'd be like, well, can you be more specific? Strategy is that more specific. When you know what needs to happen, who needs to be influenced by it, and what they need to know and achieve with the information that you target them with, it's a million times easier to come up with the plan. Another common question is, do we need to even have a plan for employer branding? Can't we just do what feels right or exciting? Of course you can do this. This is the most popular employer branding strategy, and it's called Random Acts of Employer Brand Marketing. But that is even harder than trying to come up with a plan without knowing what needs to be achieved. So I don't recommend it because it costs even more of your time, of your budget, your money. It stresses you out, and literally you don't achieve anything with it. The problem is very quickly clear. You will face huge difficulties coming up with regular actions and consistent activities and messages because you don't have any guidelines for you. You'll be inventing the wheel like over and over again. So it's a lot of work that doesn't deliver much results. And what's even more problematic then is what if what you think is exciting and feels right, but it doesn't feel right. It's not exciting for the people that you actually want to get excited about your messages and your marketing. What are you going to do then? Because oftentimes, that's exactly what happens. The people who do employer brand marketing are oftentimes recruiters, HR people, business marketing people. They are not personally, most often, the same profile as the people that they are trying to pursue with those messages and marketing. So how do you know what's exciting for somebody who has completely different kind of background, is maybe different age, different generation, different needs, different profession, different education, different values? The more strategic your employer branding is, the more effortless it is to execute, and the more likely you can also get resources to make employer branding useful, because your boss is not going to pay for something that isn't useful for the business. So you need to show them evidence that whatever you're using the money for is actually generating value for the business. That can also be a lot of fun and well worth as an activity for you and your company. And I can guarantee you, executing a good employer branding strategy, having a good plan, is so much more fun than going the random acts of employer brand marketing route. That's so stressful. Oh, it's so stressful. Now, when do you need a strategy for employer branding? That's also a really important question, isn't it? So you definitely know it's time to make employer branding strategic when you are allocated a budget of more than 20,000 euros, 20,000 US dollars, or 20,000 British sterling. You also know you need a strategy for employer branding when your management calls out for employer branding to solve talent-related struggles that are hurting the business. You should never use your employer branding budget for a campaign. Never. Campaign is a one-time marketing activity that can cost a lot of money, can eat all of your budget, but delivers next to none employer brand value. You should do campaigns for recruiting, but that's a different ball game, completely different ball game. If you don't know why I say this, go back to episode 114, for example, or last week's episode, you'll find out. Employer brand value is measured in awareness, brand recognition, brand value, brand affinity, and business-worthy conversions. There's no application word here. If the plan is to use that money to get applications, that is recruitment marketing. That is not employer branding. And campaign is then exactly what you need. It's just a one-time thing that costs something that, was budgeted for employer branding. But maybe then you confused what employer branding is. And listen, if you want to learn more about telemarketing strategies, I have an on-demand course. On-demand means that you can access it anytime. It costs something, but you can access it anytime, study on your own time, on your own pace. You just need to go to telemarketing school where I teach you about telemarketing strategies. And in this course, you learn what are your primary telemarketing strategic options, which I can reveal are employer branding strategy, recruitment marketing and communication strategy, and employer awareness strategy, which is different to employer branding strategy. You'll also learn what segments go into good talent marketing strategy, how and why you should separate a strategy from the plan, and how to choose the most fitting strategy for the needs of your organization. And this course is ideal for those who are newbies to, working with strategies and working with telemarketing strategies. So when you join telemarketing school, you currently, at the time of releasing this episode, get access to all courses. There's 4 courses, all courses for one membership fee, which is valid for 1 year. And this is currently €495 plus your local VAT. This fee will go up in 2023. So you better join now when you get access for all of these 4 courses for 365 days for the price of €495 plus your local VAT. Go to telemarketingschool.com to learn more and sign up as long as you can get this deal. Alrighty, folks, this is all for this week. Find more podcast episodes and blog articles about modern employer branding at modernemployerbrand.com. And my name is Susanna Rantanen, and I teach you everything you need to know about mastering modern employer branding at Telemarketing School. And hey, come back next week to learn more about how to build a modern employer brand and adapt to all these changes that are going around us and that are making it constantly more and more difficult to convert those talent audiences into our employer brand and recruitment marketing value. Moi moi!